Hey guys, this is Paolo with Meditation Amsterdam. In today's video, I want to talk a little bit about how to leverage the seeking energy of the mind, or the seeking inertia of the mind, in a way that ends up undoing seeking as the default that the mind operates in. And the thought for this piece of advice comes from observing how people often struggle with trying not to seek because of the kind of advice that we've seen in the past in videos and books about how seeking is a futile exercise. So I want to unpack this a little bit and give a bit of guidance into what to do with that seeking energy, rather than getting to a strange kind of dance with it, which pretty much leads nowhere. So the notion that seeking is a problem comes from this idea that everything in our field of perception, everything that can be perceived by the senses, is a sort of mirage, a kind of reflection that our mind generates. And whilst it is very handy to interact with that mirage in a proper way, in other words, not to cross the street without first checking if there's any oncoming traffic, or practical things of that kind, to find meaning in a mirage, or to find meaning in a illusory projection of that kind, is like trying to drink water from a mirage. And therefore there's an injunction in many of the classical texts and in many videos out there telling us to stop seeking. Don't seek, right? You're going to get identified with the seeking energy. You're not going to find what you need to find, and so on. So there's definitely some truth to that. There's something valid behind the injunction not to seek, and behind also the indication of how seeking is problematic as a mechanism. It is the thing that indeed saps our joy, because seeking, as natural as it is to the mind, never really finds. So we get stuck in seeking as opposed to knowing how to find what it is that we're looking for. So there's definitely valid points to the idea to not seek. However, the problem comes when we take this to be practical advice, because so long as there is a decent amount of egoic momentum in our mind, seeking will be the default, and we won't be able to stop it, no matter how hard we try. And so it's not really fair to ask someone to stop seeking. It would almost be akin to telling someone to take it easy when they're having a panic attack. It's not going to help much. What I believe does help is to, as I say, leverage or co-opt the seeking momentum of the mind and point it towards something that will undermine the seeking mechanism, or bring a resolution to the seeking, rather than trying to not seek, because it's just not going to be an option. It doesn't seem to be an available move unless our mind has been really cultivated and can find quietude in a more easy way. So then the question becomes rather, I take a step back. The question then becomes not whether to seek or not to seek, the question becomes, what is skillful when it comes to seeking? Where shall I point my attention? And the idea here is to point our attention to the source of the seeking rather than the object being sought. And there's a difficulty here, which is that the seeking energy is an outward orientation of the mind. So for a while, what we want to train is to start exercising a reversal of that tendency. We want to learn how to gather our mind onto itself. Some yogic texts speak of like a turtle withdrawing its legs and its head into its shell, right? So rather than allowing the senses to hijack attention and to have that attention, between quotes, leak outwardly in an outward direction, we want to be able to collect our attention inward onto itself. And that is a reversal of the typical trend. Now, here comes, I think, one of the wisest things that sages like Ramana Maharshi would tell you, which is seek the I am. Seek the sense of I am. And I think that's brilliant because even though there is no I amness to be found, there is no self to be found as such, seeking for the I am both gives the mind some candy to chase whilst that seeking energy is active, and it is phenomenal candy to chase, because the one thing that we tend not to seek when we feel that something is missing in our lives is our sense of self. We tend not to orient our attention to the resolution of the question, what am I? What am I in my heart of hearts, in my center, the center of me? And as it turns out, that investigation becomes quite a fascination for the mind. The mind, we want to orient our attention away from the senses and inward onto itself in search of the question, who or what is doing the looking? And as we do that, even though there's nothing to be found, as I said, the reversal of that directionality of attention from going outward to going inward has the property of collecting the mind and integrating the mind. So the mind starts to know itself as itself by doing that. And for a long, long time, there will be much to discover. There will be much to clarify, much to contend with. And we can simply keep doing that over and over again, so that when a desire comes up or when seeking energy comes up, we ask the question, who is it that wants? Or who is it that seeks? What does seeking feel like? And is there a seeker behind it? And is there a knower of the seeker? You see, so it's almost like an infinite regress type of exercise. And this is not a verbal game. It is also not a logical game. It's a game of where we point our attention. So long as there is seeking energy, we may as well use it for something handy. And we can learn to use our attention for the clarification and the integration of the mind. And the one thing we need to learn how to do is to co-opt that seeking energy and turn it on itself. There's a saying in Taoism that says that there's nothing like the poison to make for a great cure. So the seeking energy can, in a sense, be turned against itself if you ask the question, who is it that seeks? As opposed to getting entranced and fall under the glamorous spell of the object of desire or the object being sought. Sometimes our mind has such a seeking momentum that we will even feel like, I don't know what I want, but I miss something. Or to phrase it differently, how do I establish a good sense of direction in my life, for example? What should I have as a good goal? What should I go after? AKA, something is missing. AKA, I'm seeking. And so seeking can have an object, or seeking can be just pure seeking that doesn't even know what it wants, you see? So nothing will satisfy it. And that's part of the lesson here, and that goes back to the beginning of the video where they tell you don't seek, or don't identify with the seeker. There's something to it, because that seeking energy cannot be satisfied. It can only be healed by turning our attention inward in whatever it is that triggers the seeking. What we will find when we turn our attention inward towards the source of seeking will be plenty of discomfort that we are reluctant to feel. That's what triggers the seeking. It's a seeking away from the way we feel subconsciously. And that subconscious pool, or that subconscious bundle of feelings will start to become conscious the less we follow our seeking energy outwards. And we learn to point the attention inward to uncover the discomfort and sit in it. So seeking is never satisfied. It is only ever really healed, right? Desires are not satisfied. The energy of desire is healed so that the desire doesn't need to arise anymore, okay? Because desires are infinite. And one of the things that things like FOMO points out to us is you're always missing out on something or another, right? And the mind can take infinite shapes, and they are all in one way or another the shape of desire. So desires are infinite, and therefore to try to make ourselves strong and shrewd and fast and learned and courageous and disciplined and all those things can yield practical results in our lives. And it can also give us a sense of well-being and achievement and the rest of all that good stuff. But the fundamental something is missing will not be appeased by those tactics and those strategies, wholesome as they may be and valid as they may be as well. This is not an attempt to discourage anyone from cultivating agency and effectiveness in life. But for that itch that cannot be scratched, no amount of doing or knowing or learning or becoming is sufficient. The next thing will pop up immediately. Yeah. So what this video is an invitation to recognize seeking energy when it arises, to understand that seeking energy has a momentum that may be too strong for you to stop, and therefore to try to not seek is, I believe, not really a valid move and perhaps poor advice, if I may be more direct. But that at the same time, that seeking can be co-opted or leveraged and turned on itself for investigative purposes, so that the source of the seeking energy or that the source of the desire may be found. And we will find that source is unconscious discomfort, a certain, I don't want this, I don't want this, I don't want this, yeah. And what this is just pure discomfort. It's just pure negative affect. And with a little bit of skill and patience, we can allow for us to start to realize and notice just how uncomfortable we feel in our own skin, and to sit with that and to make peace with those affects and to allow them to really come to the surface and be felt, which is all that they want, really. And to do that systematically for a long time by pointing attention onto itself whenever seeking is there, and to use the question, who am I, as the ultimate prize that the seeker could try to find. The real self, so to speak. So I hope that helps. I'm curious to hear if you guys relate to this whole notion of the seeking energy and how futile it is to stop it, and whether you think that reversal of attention is something that you could give a try to. So curious to hear your comments on this one. And as always, if you think that these videos could help others, then your liking, sharing, and subscribing is always welcome. Thanks for listening thus far. If you did, I'll be back with more videos pretty soon. Cheerio. Bye-bye.